Howdy folks, I'm Ethan Page, president of Crossroads Events and Timing.
And I'm Justin Kidwell, I'm the manager of the timing operations for Crossroads.
And we wanted to do our second video segment today of our video blog series for a race director's guide, taking strides towards success. And today we really wanted to go over some things that are super important when you're selecting a timer. That's going to be really important for your race to be successful. So the things that we wanted to go over today is really race day preparedness and looking at different items that's really important to see in a timer to make sure that they're fully prepared to take care of you regardless of weather. You know, we wish that every single day could be like today, sun shining, nice and cool, no crazy weather going on, but to be completely realistic, you know, it's halfway common, but they can be few and far between. Right. You know, sometimes it's about half our races are super rainy or cold or regardless. So all those weather conditions can really affect your timing, and selecting a timer that's super prepared for any type of condition and prepared for anything that can happen on race day is extremely important, because we know if something happens to their equipment or something happens because of the weather, participants aren't going to get their times and they're going to be extremely upset, and that's the whole reason you hired them. So anyways, we're going to go over, I'm going to turn over to Justin, go over the first couple of things that we do for our clients.
Yeah, so basically, like Ethan was saying, more often than not, we get real lucky with the weather, but as everybody knows, weather is super unpredictable. One day it could be rainy, one day it could be sunny. You know, we're in Indiana right here where we are right now. The next day it could be snowy.
Exactly.
You never really know.
For sure.
So coming prepared for races in all kinds of weather is extremely important to us. And these are just a couple of the items that we use to ensure that you guys get the best race timing experience possible. So starting off right here to our right, we have our timing tent, which is basically where we set up all of our electronic equipment. We think it's super important to keep everything that is electronic out of the weather, out of the sun. As most people know, technology doesn't do too great in the beating sun. It can really burn up, fry your electronics. And even more so, you know, if you're in the rain, you can't get many electronics wet. So that's one of the things that we like to bring to every single race. There's one of these pop-up tents that it's super accessible for all of the racers to come up and approach us, ask us questions. Easy to find us because, you know, a bright orange tent out in the middle is pretty easy to see and all that good stuff. So that's one of the things that we bring to all of our races, just to keep all of our electronics safe. But in many cases, there have been instances where the weather was just so terrible. We time a lot of races, you know, in the winter.
Yeah. Super
cold outside. Also not too great for electronics when you're in the freezing, frigid cold.
So like some of them we do, and Justin's going to go into it a little bit, but yeah, just, you know, think of it from a race director's perspective. You know, different times of the year, you might have a Christmas race, you might have a Thanksgiving Day race. We know how cold and awful those could be. Like Justin was saying, not great for conditions. We've timed a lot of events in horrible conditions. I think we have one in northern Wisconsin towards the end of December, so absolutely frigid up there. We also do
the Frozen Gnome in Chicago, that one.
Yep.
We got snowed on so hard in that one. I mean, probably almost 6-7 inches within a few hours.
So that's one that's in January, super cold, like you just said, a ton of weather on us and stuff like that, the whole 9 yards. So it's really important that your timer's not just for their electronic equipment, not just for what they're bringing, but also you have to think from a race director, the more comfortable that your timer is and the more taken care of they are, the better job they're going to be able to do. So, you know, when some timers don't show up prepared, even if their equipment is going to work, if they're freezing to death, if they can't get their hands out of their gloves because it's so cold, or obviously, you know, if rain's coming down on their equipment and they're running around like crazy trying to take care of it all, then they're not able to fully focus on your race. So just some of these next things that we talk about just really allows us to really just focus in on your race, because we've taken out all of the other kind of aspects that could affect us. So.
Right. So in those cases where maybe the pop-up tent just isn't cutting it, you got rain coming in from the sides, it's -10 degrees outside, snow coming in from up underneath you, If you look back behind us, you'll see one of our timing vehicles. This is one of our vans that, in those cases, we love to bring to our events. It's really great. We have the entire back area completely cleared out. That gives us the opportunity to set up our entire timing setup just out of the back of the van. It keeps the weather 100% out of the way. Keeps us out of the elements.
Nice and toasty.
Like he said, so that we can focus directly on your guys' race and give you guys the best timing services that you could possibly give.
Yeah, for sure. So what's really nice is we can even run all the little extras and stuff out of that back of the van for your participants. So, you know, in another video segment, we're going to kind of go into the extras that we bring out to your race that are super awesome that your participants love. With this van, we can crack the windows, run our cords outside to all of our antennas out in the weather, in our arch and etc. And then we have like big doors that slide off the back and come out and stuff like that. And we, you know, if the weather is awful, we can still set those kiosks and everything else like that that your participants want to see right inside the van. They can come and type it in, or put a tent over one side of the van so they can still come up and access all the really cool stuff that we're bringing to. So, you want to talk a little bit about the arch, maybe?
Yeah. So right here, if you look behind us, right in front of the van, we have one of our aluminum truss arches. And the really awesome thing that we love about having the aluminum arches as opposed to, you know, the alternatives, the big blow up arches, or the ones on the crank up arches. We've seen a few of those at other races that we've attended. One of the great things about this arch is it's so heavy duty, completely weatherproof. We set up all of our antennas either on the sides or along the top of that so that they're completely out of the way for all participants. They don't have to worry about running over cords. All of the cords run directly over the top of them. But even better, they're so weighted down that even in weather where winds are coming in left, right, up, down, where sometimes, and we've actually even seen it a couple times, those blow up arches, they don't do too well in the wind. You know, they're basically big balloons.
So yeah, exactly like Justin's saying, and that's why we really like to use this. We actually had a race director last winter that we brought our arch out anyways, but he really wanted this big blow up arch that was really big and stuff like that. And unfortunately it was super high winds, and I warned him about it, but he really wanted that blow up arch. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying blow up archers can't look great, they can. But like Justin was saying, unfortunately, 5 minutes before that race started, when all the runners were lined up, I think it was like an 800 or 900 person race back, the wind ripped that blow up arch out and just sent it crashing down in front of all the participants. And as you can tell, the race director completely, you know, freaked out. And I was like, hey, no problem, let's take it off the road. And we swung our arch up that I already had set up, and we had a great day. So that's one of the reasons, like Justin was saying, we really like to use that, is because regardless of weather, you know, the cold can sometimes affect those blow up arches. They don't blow up quite as well. The wind can really affect them, etc. And with these, and this is one of our smaller ones, we have really big ones too, but these, you never have to worry about them. They're perfect in any type of condition that we're working in.
This goes along with being prepared for absolutely everything and anything that could go wrong, even if it's very unlikely that it will.
Yeah, for sure. So like Justin was saying, we just always want to be prepared. I'm going to go over a couple more smaller things that we do real quick that, again, just make sure that we're fully prepared for race day. So one of the huge things that we take care of is we always bring our own power. So you would be surprised by the amount of timers that have to ask the race director to provide them power to power all of their equipment, etc. We always just bring it in-house. We have a bunch of generators. So not just at our own timing location, but if we have other equipment that needs to be powered, we work with a ton of triathlons or a lot of other bigger races where our equipment might not be where we're at. It might be somewhere else. Well, you still don't have to have that headache and really worry about providing us with power, because we always come completely all-inclusive, which is really important. One, to make sure our equipment's always running because we're watching after it, and to make sure that you don't have to worry about that headache when you hire a timer. Another thing that we do is we'll bring these small tents here. Those, again, just kind of goes to keeping the weather off your equipment. We use these a lot for when we do triathlons. So we're not going to have a giant setup at every single place that you might need, like antennas at to have a timing location. So these are great for remote locations. We usually have these real small and out of the way on each end of transition. Again, keeps the sun off our computers to keep them from overheating. Keeps torrential downpours and everything else like that from affecting our equipment. So if you have a race that's a rather complex race and you might have timing locations scattered throughout the event, it's really important to always have something to always cover all of your equipment that's also out of the way too. You don't want a giant setup everywhere all over your course. These are great for tucking them out of the way while still making sure they're running completely perfectly well. Two other things that I just kind of wanted to go over, just small little details again of how we come prepared. Is as silly as it might seem, we always bring a big roll of trash bags. You might think, you know, why are you bringing trash bags, etc. Trash bags and Sharpies can kind of save your life as a timer. Sometimes we'll have days that are perfect like this, and then all of a sudden the weather comes out of nowhere, blows in, and that can be an issue, especially if you have rain blowing sideways, etc. We always have these on hand because they're great. We can cover all of our equipment inside and still make sure they're running perfectly smooth, regardless of anything that comes in. So trash bag's great, and Sharpies are also great too, because regardless of the wind, the rain, especially the rain, wetness, etc. like that, they'll still write on anything. So if you ever have to take down notes or you have to send something along to a race director or something like that, having like a good Sharpie on board, as silly as that might seem, super useful. The last thing that we always bring is we always bring an air horn, which again, might sound a little silly, but we actually bring a very special type of air horn. A lot of air horns will not work at all in the winter. So when we first got into this business, you know, we've always brought something to start the race with, but a lot of those air horns that are compressed air actually don't work in the cold because the temperature really affects them and they just straight up don't work. And you never know how much is in a can, etc., etc. And there's, you know, a lot of race directors will think they want to bring something to start a race, and then in the craziness of the event, which we know race directors have a ton of stuff going on, they forget. So we always have one of these right at our start-finish location for you to use. And the nice thing is they're rechargeable, so they work in all types of weather, whether it's freezing cold, whether it's rainy, etc. They always work. So those are just some of the aspects. I know we do a lot of other things that we may not have gone over today, but those are some of the aspects to make sure that regardless of your weather, regardless of the temperature, anything like that, we come all-inclusive, 100% prepared, 100% of the time. So I hope you guys really enjoy this video blog in the second of our series, and we look forward to pushing out more so that you know what types of resources are going to be best for your race. And when you're looking at vendors, timers, etc., you know what they should be bringing to you to make sure they're 100% prepared. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a great day.